Hello, this is a video about Magha Nakshatra. So the Nakshatras are the 27 lunar signs of Vedic astrology, and Magha is the 10th Nakshatra. Now, actually, the nub of Magha's issues are the ancestors. So what is your inheritance from your ancestors? Genetic, mystical, DNA, historical, racial, and, parenting patterns, grandparenting patterns. Was your family line involved, in famine, in mass migration, invasions of the past, all these held issues? But because Magha is ruled by Ketu, the south node of the moon, well, Ketu is fiercely spiritual in its demand. And so the Magha person ideally develops an intuitive and psychic even spiritual perception out of this whole issue of inheritance, personal, family, and cultural inheritance. So Maghas are about shaping the present and the future through use of their past. Now, the nakshatras are studied in my wonderful Nakshatras course, www.nakshatrasadvancecourse.com. You need to know some Vedic astrology to do it. In part 1, you learn about each of the 27 nakshatras and you study them in relation to your birth chart or my birth chart, or bring in other people's if neither of us have a planet in one of the nakshatras. And in part 2, you look at the magnificent interpretive methods using the nakshatras, the very accurate Vedic declaration of love and marriage, the health astrology, the very accurate sort of derived nakshatra statement. How will you find someone who is 4 nakshatras from you, 5 nakshatras for you, their moon compared to your moon? Very valid and important stuff, so well worth knowing. So, Magha. Well, an important key is the star. The central star of the constellation, that portion of the heavens that is Magha, is Regulus. Regulus is 100 times more luminous than the sun. Think about that. What does that say about the person? Well, of course, the actual constellation name in the Western zodiac is Leo. And so it's Leo the lion, proud, kingly. And they are proud and kingly. Indeed, I feel that often when they're born into the birth room, an atmosphere of pride, of being very proud, pervades. And so they're all about being the king. The symbol of Magha is the throne. So immediately you think, well, tough to deal with them sometimes. They're very proud, they're very ambitious. And of course they have this big eye for tradition. Negatively, they can be into superiority, racial and class prejudice, status-minded, perfectionist, cruel and fierce. They can take deep-rooted dislikes, negative judgments of people. The translation is the Great One. And indeed the power animal, because every nakshatra has a power animal, well, theirs is the male rat, trickiness and treachery. But, don't try telling them that. I don't know. And incidentally, the body part, because every nakshatra has a body part, is nose, lips and chin. And they can often have a big nose and for example, get mouth sores, just as a small example. And yet the caste, as it were, because every nakshatra is related to a sort of job type, is Shudra or servant. They are actually here to serve. And the highest ones do. A king should serve his people. So let's look at the star. Well, basically, it's in the actual forehead of the lion. And, the ancient Vedic sages were so psychically perceptive, they could genuinely work out the difference in energy of each of the 360 degrees of the zodiac. And so from the degree of the zodiac occupied by Regulus, they sensed an energy that radiates power, prosperity. And that's what Maghas are about. But very often, because they're about their inheritance, the inheritance can be very difficult. So, they incarnate to sort that out before they can achieve their fullness of kingship, their fullness of mystical, healer ability, wisdom, and indeed putting that to the service of others, ideally. And the important thing is that Magha lies beside the constellation of the Hydra. Now, the Hydra is where the preceding nakshatra, the 9th nakshatra, Ashlesha, is. And Ashlesha is like a very difficult energy. And so partly, the thing is, Leo is next to the Hydra, so you have the hero slaying the dragon. Now, that can be a negative thing to do because we need the sort of serpent unconscious energies, and I've gone into that in my Ashlesha video. But of course, our mythological inheritance is full of the cosmic battle between kings and dragons, archangels and dragons. So Hercules killed the Hydra. And if you remember the Oedipus myth, Oedipus answered the riddle of the Sphinx, and so was able to kill the Sphinx who had been laying waste to Thebes. But in doing that, and I won't go into the story, he activated the appalling curse that pervaded his entire life and destroyed it. He tried to escape the prophecy and walked right into it in his attempt to escape. So, read up on Oedipus. So, these things are not simple, but they're very powerful. So, yes, when you do my nakshatra course, you get full notes on each nakshatra. So it's a beautiful study, and I'm just looking through these things now. But if we just look at a summary of the attributes, favourable, positive, balanced, with self-respect, expecting respect from others, big-hearted, goes first class, entitled, likes titles, respects educators and spiritual people, honours tradition, adheres to chains of command, likes to go in the army or druid orders or whatever, likes to be served and given attention, but unfavourable, arrogant, disdainful, grossly over-demanding, indignant, has a strong dislike for those who dislike them, can get involved in an affair if they feel unloved by their mate, can be manipulated by flattery. So, yes, just to say finally, for each nakshatra you get a statement of the padas, what the padas mean. In other words, each nakshatra is divided into 4 quarters, and it makes a difference which quarter your planet falls in. It'll manifest differently. So if you have a planet in the first pada of Magha, well, that's ruled by Aries. So, that planet will be more courageous, fiery, and idealistic in the way it manifests. Say you have the sun there, you'll be more powerful, more strong, more selfish, the leader, more impatient, the light will burn bright. But the second pada is, the Taurus energy of Magha, so that's more settled and secure, emphasizing consolidation and duty to the material and the organization of the material realm. The third pada is Gemini. Now, these are the more thoughtful, intellectual and mental Maghas. And the fourth and final pada, or quarter is Cancer. Now remember that Magha itself is all about family, and Cancer is very, very feeling. And of course, Cancer is ruled by the moon, which fluctuates. So people with planets here can be prone to fluctuating and even undoing. So it's important to sort of know, like if you have Sun in Pada 4 of Magha, fully understand that. Watch what happens in your life in terms of, your career and the way you define yourself, and particularly when there are transits to your Sun. So, have a reading from me. My readings always combine crossover between Western and Vedic astrology, and or enroll for my absolutely wonderful and so well taught Nakshatra course. And just to say that the mountain behind us is Ben Bulben, and so together with Maggie I run a healing centre in the far west of Ireland, as well as teaching all our worldwide courses and doing the worldwide healings. And indeed the healing centre has retreats and Airbnb, so you can look that up. And, where better than the west of Ireland? Okay, thank you.